Hey everyone! As some of you might know, I recently created a new YouTube channel called Dino Tales, where I will focus all the upcoming dinosaur cinematics. You can find the link to the Dino Tales channel in the description down below. So if you like my dinosaur content and would definitely want to see more, please head on over there and subscribe to my dinosaur channel. I hope by doing this to cater my videos more to those only interested in the dinosaur videos and give you the content that you want to see. Currently I'm uploading the current season episodes on there, but will start the newest season there very soon. Also, since I already started this season on the Kanoa channel, I will still finish it in its entirety on here as well. Thanks, and enjoy the rest of the episode. With the Kentrosaurus being the newest attraction to the park, the zoo and its visitors could welcome another herbivore that was part of the Stegosaurus family. The Kentrosaurus was significantly smaller, and the crests along its spine were also vastly different. Where the Stegosaurus had the crests all over its back and only spikes on its tail, the Kentrosaurus had spikes along the rear side of its spine and also on its tail. Besides that, there were two spikes poking out of its sides. Something like a Stegosaurus was always a favorite prey amongst larger predators, since so much of its sides were open to attack, with its tail wipe not always being the most accurate. The Kentrosaurus also was not the most protected, but at least it could jump sideways a bit to hope and gorge any attacker. However, since it was of a smaller size, carnivores like raptors or Deinonychus would attack it too, and they were nimble enough to bite in between the spikes so they could not get hurt. The Kentrosaurus also preferred to be in a small herd, just like the Stegosaurus. Their color schemes were a lot less flamboyant, meaning that the crests actually were not used to impress a potential mate, unlike the Stegosaurus. It could be compared to ducks, where some duck species were very colorful and bright, while others were very dim and monotone. Their smaller size did make them a bit more jittery and playful than a Stegosaurus, and it was once again a species that became more popular amongst young visitors. With this being another success, it was time to talk about what dinosaur would be next. Earlier there was shown some interest in starting a new campaign of introducing 3 new herbivores in a fairly short period of time to attract a bit of buzz in the park. Time would be necessary to decide which herbivore, but science by now also had made some discoveries on more ancient mammals. The other mammals, like the mammoths, woolly rhinos, but also the non-dinosaurs like the terrorbird and the giant crocodiles, were a huge success, and thus the park owners thought to create a campaign around the release of the 3 new mammals to the prehistoric park. The first of these was the therapsid Estemmenosuchus, which ironically meant crowned crocodile, despite having a lot of similarities to mammals today. This was one of the most unique creatures to ever come in the park, since it was much older than some of the dinosaurs present there, and it was a mixture of so many different aspects we were used to compared to other animals today. Despite it having enormous teeth, the Estemmenosuchus was a herbivore, though it would not shy away from eating meat if it had to survive. Its probable stomach size and early discoveries of its bone structure hinted at its herbivore diet, since predators in general have smaller stomachs, since meat is so much easier to digest. When one would look at the skull structure, one could also find similarities to that of a bear today, which of course could also affirm early on the theory about them being a potential omnivore. The crests on their heads were used much in the same ways like stags with antlers, and mostly to impress mates or to duel other males for dominance. They would often be spotted in groups and also be near water. When they were in the water, it could even look like an early hippo, and so in a way, the Estemmenosuchus was an ancient mixture of a lot of different species that were to come next. A potpourri of all kinds of genes. These creatures were, as expected, a giant hit, but mostly because of their unique look. There really wasn't anything else like it in the park, and where some creatures, like the giant crocodiles, basically look like a bigger counterpart of their siblings today, the Estemmenosuchus was very unique in that department. It was also one of the lesser known creatures on the trio that would be introduced, and despite starting with such an unknown attraction, the start definitely tasted like more. And thus the decision needed to be made on what ancient creature would get its introduction next. And the decision fell on the Paraceratherium. This was one of the largest mammals ever to walk the earth, and though its size might hint that it was an ancestor of the elephant, it was closer to a rhino we know today. Its diet would consist of the leaves at the top of trees, which it could reach easily due to its long neck, which made the impression by some that its structure had similarities to that of a giraffe, which made it in some ways all the more surprising that rhinos actually descended from this, since it was such a drastic transformation. Their sheer size made it to where the Paraceratherium was one of the more well-known ancient mammals out there, even though its name wasn't the easiest to remember. This was the case for many of the mammals, and dinosaurs in a way had it a bit easier in general, since there was often a small term followed by the word saurus to make up for its name. Just like with dinosaurs, like the Brachiosaurus, the size alone was its most effective defensive mechanism, since predators would not dare to attack such a large animal. Though it had no particular sharp teeth, claws, or spikes, it could still trample over any danger, and crushing it with ease. Often other grazing mammals could be spotted near them, since in a way, the Paraceratherium were the overwatch in a herd of grazers, since they could see danger coming from a mile away. But they weren't particularly the sharpest of creatures, and mostly occupied themselves with finding more food, so in a way, it was not the best defensive setup for the other animals. They were also not as jittery, and would not decide to make a getaway when they sensed danger lurking, unlike the other smaller creatures. With the campaign now having 2/3 of its creatures revealed and introduced, it was time to finish with the last of the mammals. And for this, they had played it safe again and would introduce the Leptobos. This was again a creature that shared much similarity to that of those that inherited its genes. The Leptobos was basically a giant bull, and was believed to share similarities to that of a common bison we know and love today. In a sense, its manes and physical lean attributes also made it look similar to that of a wildebeest, but these creatures were mostly found in Europe and Asia. Despite looking quite a lot like the grazers we know today, its main difference was once again its size, and its weight could go up to 350 kilos. These were the creatures that were still a bit jittery, despite their enormous horns, and the park made sure to bring in a lot of them so that they would feel comfortable, and also put them right in the pen next to the Paraceratherium so they could have the illusion of them being on Overwatch, just the way they liked it.